We're going to make a stencil using a copy of a picture that I have on a calendar. So we've made a photocopy, and I'm going to get down here and I'm going to cut out some shapes from this photocopy using my X-Acto knife. So let's see what we need to do here to cut this out. We just cut this out here. Okay. Now out here. Remove it so we know where we're at with that shape. Alright, so now we have the stencil cut. I will do another video and reassemble it in here after I've cut it down a little bit so that I can recreate the design just a slight bit differently. I can take the circle that I've cut out of the tire and put it in here. So now those areas we blocked out from being printed. So now I have my stencil all assembled for the print, and all I have to do now is to lay the silkscreen on top of this cutout, and this is what I'm going to use as a silkscreen, and it appears as though it's going to be needing to be printed this direction so that it will fit, and that's alright, we can do that. Looks like I'm going to have some blank space around it, so I'm going to move backup paper. So I'll place them in here, move the camera back a little bit. Backup paper going. That's too much. Bring it back out. Now let's see what happens when I put the screen back on. Now everything is going to be covered. Okay, now we're going to do some printing, and I'm going to use an ink right out of the ink jar, make it simple. So we will put some ink onto the screen. far this goes. Use a little larger squeegee here. Hold on to the screen and squeegee the ink through the screen. Come back the other direction. It looks like we got it all through. So now I'm going to lift this and realize that I've now printed this image onto my tabletop, not onto a piece of paper, which I should have placed under the print. But isn't it a cool image? Even though it's on my tabletop, which is just a board that I was using. But it did create a very nice image, and I see a little extra piece down here. But now I have the stencil, which is adhered to the silk screen still, and there's no bleeding or anything here. I see a couple of places where I might have gone ahead and cut out and so forth, but the image itself is pretty cool. But since it's all stuck there and the ink is sticking it there, I can now take another piece of paper and lay it down onto this, lay this stencil on top. Maybe what I'll do here is just lay this on top of this, since that's what I'm planning to do, is to stencil it onto a piece of white paper like this. I'll just cover this up and then lay this down. Put some more ink down. Each time you ink, you actually are using a little less, because as you can see, the paper, the stencil, takes up a lot of the ink. And so the stencil itself, if you can get it done in one passage like that, that's the best way. Sometimes I'll just go back once just to make sure everything's nice and clean. But you want to keep it from shifting. When you lift it up, your paper now will have the image that you're printing on it. If at any time you want to use this as a repeat pattern, you can wait for this design to dry and perhaps turn it, if this is on a larger piece of paper, and print the same image, mirror image, back to back, such as that, or top, or we're going to print this image on a larger piece of paper in a repetitive pattern. I've already got my ink down, so I'm going to hold the screen and print the image. Papers here. They're blocking out. Looks like I missed one corner, so that'll have to be part of my design. Now I'm going to use this same design and create a new direction here. Inked its way through there. But you can see the screen itself is still good. I've made messes by leaving these areas unprotected. I could have taped them off and so forth, but I didn't. In any case, I now have another direction that I can go off the paper this way. The important thing to understand is that this stencil is still good. It can still be used by you for many, many more prints. As long as these areas are protected. I've gone through here and I've done this very quickly and I've not protected these areas, but you see there's no bleeding at all through this paper. This is just copy paper that's used as a stencil. And all of these intersection areas, all these inserted areas have stayed right where they were put. So as a stencil, it still works very nicely. And the cool thing is that when we're all done, we can take this stencil and simply pull it off of the screen and throw it away. And then wash the screen because there's nothing else to worry about. There's just the stencil paper, those little pieces there, and the ink will wash right out. So very, very cool process. I hope you enjoyed the lesson.